Our last speaker is Richard Turner. He is the Deputy Director of Public Works at Charleston County Government, Charleston, South Carolina, where he's held progressive positions over almost 11 years. Prior to joining Charleston County Government, he worked as a maintenance engineer with the South Carolina Department of Transportation. He was a member of the FHWA Pavement Preservation Expert Task Group and the Southeast Pavement Preservation Partnership. Final presentation of the session is Richard Turner. Richard, take it away.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Richard Turner. I'm Deputy Director of Public Works for Charleston County, South Carolina. I'm going to focus on a little bit different, not quite as technical as some of the previous presenters, but hopefully there will definitely be some themes that you'll see from what they've said to what I say. And two things came to mind for me when Neil and Judith asked me to present on building successful local programs. One was obviously Charleston County's program, because that's the program that I know, and two was a publication in the winter of 2017, Pavement Preservation Journal, that I know Judith had a lot to do with, which was kind of the David Letterman checklist of the top 10 characteristics of a world-class pavement preservation program. So for those that are looking at starting a preservation program, I would say seek out that checklist. I think it's a good starting point to kind of measure where you are as a program and give you some goals for the path forward. Tell the story is what I'm gonna really talk about. Tell the story of Charleston County Pavement Management, who we are and how we worked through the program and some of the lessons learned along the way. So Charleston County, we are a county-wide program. We do not look at where we go beyond the boundaries of municipalities in the state. So we have about 2,000 centerline miles. It includes all the paved roads within 16 municipalities and also the state secondary road system. So that's what makes up our 2,000 miles. We started our program initially in the 90s. Really was a note card, worst first, squeaky wheel type of system. Then 2005, we began to use a cartograph as our pavement management software. And then we began data collection in 2009, the automated data collection, that is. And then in 2010 is when we began preservation. And that's really where my story begins. And that's when I came to Charleston County. Currently today, we're updating our program. We are switching to agile assets, which you've heard a little bit about. And Aaron Gerber and his team at Kershaw are really helping us out, really taking our program to the next level. Why did we go this route? But really, it's about limited taxpayers' dollars. You know, 2010 we were seeing a downturn in the economy, but the cost of construction was still rising. The budgets were getting tighter and tighter, so we had to find a more cost-effective method on how we maintained our system. So you really had to. What we've historically done has been rehab and reconstruction, but we knew we needed to go in a little bit different direction to better maintain our network with the same amount of budget. We need to do a mix of treatments for our roads to maintain our network. So that's the path that we have been on over the last 11 years. What it really started off with is a champion, or what it should start off with is a champion. You have to have someone within your organization that's going to be a champion for preservation. You know, in our scenario, that was me. I came to county in 2010 and took over a pavement management program that was historically worst first. We had done mill and fill for 20 years or longer when I came to the county. So we began to look at different options. But my background was with South Carolina DOT, which was also mill and fill. I had to really begin to learn. I had to be willing to learn. So your champion, you really have to be willing to learn about different treatment types. Be open to new ideas, and then what you learn, you have to be able to communicate that with others. And what you've heard on some of what the other presenters is talk about the elected officials, the community you live in, all of those folks. You got to be able to communicate that message of why it's important. So that champion has to have those abilities to do that, and you have to be willing to take a risk, if you will, to push the envelope of what you can do within your community. But be patient. Be patient, and sometimes have to have a little thick skin, because some of the treatment types are foreign, and you're going to get some negative feedback. But you have to persevere through that and continue to move this forward. Starting out with your program, think big, but start small. And what I mean by that is when I started, we were the community and the county itself, we were rather hesitant about going really big with our first treatments of preservation. So what we said was, all right, let's start with a microsurfacing. And we did that in the very rural part of our county where we had low risk of getting ourselves in trouble. We didn't want to make a misstep and that treatment type be taken away. So we moved to the rural part of the community. We did our first treatment, and then we focused on, okay, we've had a success here. Now where else can we take it? So we began to create these long-term goals for the program. And then we started additional pilot projects. But we were always, and you should always be very careful and mindful to match that road with the appropriate treatment, because the last thing you want to do is place a preservation treatment on a road that is too far down the deterioration scale, and then it not meet its life expectancy. And then folks are wondering, why did you waste your money on this? Understand the sensitivity of the project location. There may be some areas of your community that are sensitive, or your elected officials may be sensitive too. So understand that. Try to understand those. Educating the community, and some of these topics, these bullet points here, I'm going to dive in a little bit more further down and tell a little bit more about our story. But education of the community, leaders, and elected officials. You've heard that a few of the presentations today, and that is extremely important. In each of the pilot projects that you do, you need to learn from. You need to learn quick. You know, like the title, think big, start small, learn fast. Learn from what you've done and really start to grow your program. The next thing, knowing your roads, and some of the things that Austin just showed you on his program at Polk County is similar to the kind of the theme here. Know your roads. You know, you have to build an inventory. You have to understand exactly the condition of your road system throughout your county or your city. Building that inventory, survey your pavement conditions. We were doing that manually. We had inspectors up until 2009. We had inspectors that walked each of our roads to collect data, and then we began the automated data collection in 2009. Use a pavement management system, whether it's Excel or Agile Assets. There's systems out there that run the spectrum that you can choose from, and just find the right one that fits you, fits your network, fits your program. It doesn't have to be as robust initially, but I would recommend you build toward that. It makes your life a lot easier. When I started, we were doing a lot of Excel spreadsheets along with Cartograph. I would spend weeks looking at the spreadsheets, and I'm an engineer, but I really get tired of looking at those small numbers. I'm sure a lot of you do as well. And then determine really what is necessary to maintain your network. Take a little dive into Charleston County. This is a breakdown of our system. This is a little bit dated, but the point here is getting to know your network and what things are possible. In this scenario, I've got it broken down by classification, and you can see 84% of our program, or 84% of our roads, are local roads, whether they're urban local or rural local. And so the garnet and black there breaks it down between state and local agency on roads, but they're still part of our network. So what that tells me, 84% of our program or our system is local roads. So the preservation treatments that are out there, we can just about do any of them. From a low volume, low speed, our risk of some of the thinner treatments, the topical treatments, we can still utilize those that we may not would want to use on such as the urban arterials or the interstate systems that some of the state agencies are maintaining. Looking a little bit further at our current network condition, 69% of our road system is at a fair or higher, which is really a 50 PCI or higher. Around 60% is at a marginal condition or higher. So a majority of our system is ready for preservation. So we can put a lot of our effort toward preservation, while then beginning to look at our rehab and reconstruction candidates and begin to reduce that number. Keep our good roads good while we reduce our backlog of failed roads. Another theme that you've heard: education of your team. Education is key. So And education is key for your champion of pavement preservation, becoming a student, if you will, of pavement preservation. And for me, that started 2010, and then going to this conference with the first National Pavement Preservation Conference in Nashville in 2012. That was a big step for our program. I met so many people, made so many contacts there that allowed me then to reach back out to those folks. There's a lot of industry professionals that were willing to help, and they came to Charleston. We rode a lot of roads, and they helped me craft our program and decide what treatment types make sense for our program. So if you're walking into this new, there's a lot of professionals out there that are willing to help. So, and they are willing to also take off their salesman hat for the day and help you with your program. So reach out to those folks. They definitely will help you. Attend conferences such as this to educate yourself and educate your team. Encourage folks within your organization to attend these conferences, because one thing you also want to see buy-in from your internal folks. For Charleston County, we have a team of 10 construction inspectors, and they have been here for many years, and so they had that same mentality of mill and fill. So getting them to understand it, and buy into it, and become experts of preservation and experts of those treatment is very key to the success of your program. Attend webinars as another one. We do a fair amount here in Charleston. There's plenty of those that are out there and easy to get to. Have your team members do the same. We've had a number of our team members that have attended the ESSA workshop in Vegas, and that is a great conference. If you're looking at slurry and microsurfacing, that has been a great tool for us to educate our folks. So I would definitely send some folks out there. Next thing, really, public outreach and education is one of the, beyond educating internally, I think this is probably the biggest one to building your program and sustaining your program, and also getting to a point where you can get dedicated and consistent funding. It's outreach to both your stakeholders, the community you live in, your leaders, your elected officials. They need to understand why it's so important. And a lot of the things that Austin showed, he had a lot of graphics there. Those are things that I've used. Todd mentioned using the measure the health of your network, the Jim Sorensen flyer. That is a great tool as well. I've used that in the past to present to our leadership that are making budget decisions as to whether my program can continue to move forward, and really showing the need and why it's so important and the impact. Those are things that you need to do. When we started some of our microsurfacing and other treatments, we walked the street. We would talk to the folks that would come out and see what's going on, and just kind of talk through with them the program, why it's important, why we're doing different things than they have seen in the past. Got a lot of positive feedback. We got some negative feedback, but mostly positive. So understanding your community desires and really communicating with them, communicating with elected officials. And I'll say we've tried just about every process you can think of to communicate with our folks. Whether we maintain a program website, which we're in the process of updating now. We do short videos now with every treatment type we've done in the past 2-3 years. We've created about a 2-minute clip that we've been pushing out on our social media web sites. We do door hangers on any of our projects. We work with our neighborhood associations to get the word out and try to get them to come to our website so they can understand our program. We put what I call political signs, the small 2 by 3 foot or 18 by 24 inch signs at the end of each road that we're working on before we start work, or 2 to 4 days before we start work. We put those out, and they have a QR code. So if you're walking by, you can use your phone to go to the QR code, and it takes you directly to our pavement management website, so you can see what's happening, what Charleston County is doing with your taxpayer dollars to maintain your network. So developing that outreach plan will be key to the success of your program. What all that work does is gets you to this point. It builds trust both within your community and your leadership and your elected officials. If you build that trust, and building trust with your budget writer is a very big key as well. And if you gain the trust and build a relationship with those folks, the dedicated and consistent funding will come. Once they understand the impact, they understand why it's so important to do these things and managing your program. You will be able to get that dedicated and consistent funding, and that is a key to just maintaining your network, maintaining your program for life of your roads from here on out. It's build trust, earn it, and keep it. What that really gets us to is, now, what treatment should you use as a local agency? And really, there's a gamut of treatment types out there, and not all of them fit every agency. But that's the process you have to go through. You have to figure out which ones work best for you. And it's really a puzzle. And you're putting the pieces together, figure out what does pavement management look like for you. I've got a number of treatment types here on the screen that we use. Not all of them are preservation, but it takes all of these treatment types to build your program and maintain your network. So don't stop doing what you've done historically. We've done mill and fill for 30 years. We're not going to stop that just to do preservation. We're going to continue to do those types of things, but we're really working toward optimizing our funds, optimizing the use of our funds, and it really takes a lot of these pieces of the puzzle to do so. As you work through that, you begin to fill your toolbox, and so researching new treatment types, you figure out what works for you is a key. Utilizing that expertise of industry partners that I talked about earlier, that was key for us in growing our program, and completing pilot projects and really learning from those, getting feedback from the citizens, and really from there, you determine what benefits are do each of those treatments provide to your network and to those roads in particular. And then once you understand the benefits, where else can you apply it after that pilot project? How much of your network can benefit from that particular treatment type? And if it is significant, then you can put that in your toolbox, and then you begin to move forward. And then you work with guys like Aaron at Kersher and really developing those programs. You've gotten this far. You begin to build your program. You built your toolbox, and you've got some funding. And so what do you do next? What do you do to maintain it? So it's really, for us, it's creating this annual process, and this is where our annual calendar, what we try to do. Obviously, it's different in each region of the country. Your paving season is a little bit different. Ours, we're in a mild climate, so we do our projects really March to November time frame. And then once our treatments and our work is complete, we're updating our program. We're updating our pavement management system, and then through those winter months of December, January, February, we're analyzing our system and we're optimizing our funding for the next year, when we're developing those maintenance plans with hopes of bidding those out in February, March timeframe. And then we just continue that process of successful projects, and then taking that to our stakeholders to say, here is the impact of this program, so you can continue to maintain that relationship, maintain that trust with your stakeholders and your leaders. Update and analyze. Just, you probably heard a little bit about this already, but enter all the completed work that you've done that year, recalculating your network indices, and then analyzing your system. This is a key step on an annual basis. And then finally is that optimization that you've heard me talk about, and several of the other presenters. Optimizing your use of funds. We really look at a three-pronged approach for our pavement management: of preservation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. So it's finding that right mix of funds to provide the highest impact to your network. And that's the pavement preservation, the pavement management systems that are out there. They will make this process a lot easier, depending upon, I've talked about the Excel spreadsheets and things of that nature. To get to the optimization is much harder than it is with something such as agile assets. So choose your program, but the point of it is to figure out what is your optimum use of your funds that are available to you to maximize your impact to your network. That is all I have. I appreciate your time and to be here with me and let me tell my story of how we built our program here in Charleston County. Contact information is available, website, email. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.